Hey.
There we go. Look at that. Merry Christmas. We all have power and internet. It's a bloody miracle.
Who wants to start?
Okay.
Someone start.
Okay. Whatever. Fine. All right. So we want to just talk about her question first. So that way we can just have that done.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I want to talk about how romantic stuff is all about, according to the Google, is all about emphasis on the imagination and emotions. So I want to talk about how Frankenstein, or Victor, by the less cool people, is very imaginative in his attempt to like explore like the dark arts and create a monster for himself. And I'm using dark arts. They laugh at it because he understands why I'm saying dark arts, and I don't appreciate that. You jerk. Okay, there you go.
Well, I was going to say that it's one of the things I noticed that whenever the author talks about abstract concepts like death and life, it's sort of like a very dark yet very imaginative look upon it. Like in chapter 4, page 52, darkness has no effect upon my fancy, and the courtyard was merely the reputable of bodies derived of living, which from being the sea of beauty and strength had become food for worms. And it goes on to talk about whenever the Gothic is when the author when she is talking about like the death and the darkness, but the romanticism comes into part in the way that she describes it, the expansive way that she describes it. It was like the corruption of death that she describes it as.
Mo.
You don't know. Yeah, it's your turn. You have to answer Portel's question.
I mean, some of the romantic details, I feel like they went into detail on nature. I don't have an exact quote. I found it a lot in like chapters 1 and 2 for the most part, when it seemed more romantic and like it was more nature and stuff referenced in the romantic sense in chapters 1 and 2. And when it got to the death of Victor's mother, that's where it seemed like there was an insert of Gothic there.
Okay.
That's right. Like, I can just describe main events. I don't like taking down quotes and stuff. So sorry, Bartolo.
Okay. All right. Do we want to talk about other stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to bring up one that I think personally drove me to hate this book already. But the writing style. I can't stand it. But I want to talk about how it is like super, super over-descriptive. And everything has a word in front of it that describes it further. Adjectives, I'm pretty sure, although it was probably the wrong word because I still can't remember which one's which. And how it feels very Faulkner, right? That's his name. I keep wanting to mix up Hemingway because I read Hemingway for the book, for the other thing. But yeah, Faulkner, it feels very Faulkner-esque. And I think that it's, oh my God, I hate it so much. But I think it's his way of trying to immerse us a little bit more inside of the story. And I think it's...
way.
What?
The author's a chick.
Okay, yes, her. Her. Shut up, all right? I'm going to mess that up every single time. Okay. Right,
yes, remember, females can write too.
That is not what I was trying to say.
But I actually like the writing style. Like, I very much appreciate like the just detailed nature. It is annoying to read. Yes,
Sorry.
It is very annoying to read. However, I feel like it immerses us better into the story. This is considered one of the first science fiction novels ever created, and it's easy to see why. The way that Shelley describes the way Victor went out to create his body, the way Victor went out to study, and the scientific process that he went through.
Okay, can I actually, like, after doing, like, so far, like, half a report on Hemingway's books, I have to argue that it does not immerse the reader very well. I personally find that Hemingway makes the reader far more immersed, just because he leaves a lot open, and you kind of have to think for it or think for yourself, and it kind of makes you, rather than just being like a spectator, you kind of become part of the actual plot line. I think that's far more effective. Not that I'm bashing Mary Shelley. I don't know.
I think we also have to keep in mind the time frame in which the story was written. I mean, during this time frame, the idea of bringing back someone from the dead realistically was not something that a lot of people entertained. So I think Shelley had to be detailed enough for her story to seem A, scary, and B, actually conceivable.
Okay.
I feel like by having so much detail, it makes the author more aware of the characters had they only had maybe dialogue, such as in Hemingway. Don't get me wrong, I love Hemingway. But this style, the way Mary Shelley wrote it, it just makes it seem like as if you're part of the character, you're watching this all happen. I said you're part of the character, you're part of the story watching this all happen, and you're able to be more immersed in it, and you feel like you really know the characters more so.
Can I back it up to something Nathan said last time about bringing back from the dead?
Yeah.
I want to talk about how reference that is to, and you were like, they hadn't even like entertained the fact of bringing someone back from the dead. But like, this is like the Romantic era, and religion was all like blah 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 blah, everywhere. And speak of the devil, I got the Bible, and I think that the references to the Bible have not been lost in this book.
Oh no, there's bunch.
Yeah. It's just like the bringing back from the dead. It feels like Jesus. There's a Jesus, except for it's like, not Jesus. Yeah, it's like it's like different. You know what I mean? Like, it's
I do understand. Like, I noticed that too when it talks about like when he was bringing Frankenstein to life. It was like very like not as glorious as one would expect bringing another thing to life. Like, this is the gift that we all receive. But when Victor did it, it seemed like demonic. Sort of.
Yeah. You know what? Nico, you want to talk? And I'm going to try to find a passage in the Bible. Bam, let's go.
If I can find it before you,
no, crap, I'm in the Old Testament. Crap.
What are you looking for specifically?
Probably something in Mark.
What's the entire idea of the resurrection? I would also like to touch upon the fact that this book moves very fast. Like,
what the hell are you talking about?
We're in chapter 5 out of 15, and the monster's already alive and kicking. Like,
No. Okay, I'm sorry. This book is so slow.
I actually agree with Nathan here.
No.
For as big as okay, so we have 15 chapters, and it's the rest of this book, right? And the monster's already alive and kicking. That's pretty. Like, I understand. Like, the events that described are slow, but put together, it's going really quickly compared to how it should. Like, if this was any other if if this was any other author, they would drag out the way that Victor got the bodies together, got all this research together, got the actual practice of the organization. But no, it's just like he's born, he has a cousin, his mother dies, he goes off to college, and boom, the monster's created, and now he's terrified. Well, you wanted to say something? Sorry.
That I was going to say, all these events have happened, and despite the amount of detail put into the events might make it seem slow, but it's actually not happening very slow. It's happening very fast.
But like, I think that these like first 5 chapters, and I'm sure Bertella did this on purpose, I think that they were purely setup.
Agreed.
And I hate setup so much. Like,
Titus likes is the climax.
Okay, but I'm gonna power through that.
Not the point.
And I think that the rest of the book might be more interesting, but I think that this is, in my opinion, very slow. Just because you just went from, he's a kid, he went to college, blah 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 blah, and he made a monster. Like, the monster is definitely the most interesting part. But I feel like the fact it took him 5 chapters and 7 billion unnecessary words to tell us that is kind of unnecessary. Also, mini quote, screw you, I found Jesus rising from the dead first. Suck an egg.
Wow, I didn't know this was a competition. I would have brought out my Bible. It has like actual quotes from like different sections.
I found it a while ago.
You didn't say it, so I still won. Moving on. Who has another idea or wants to continue on the previous topic?
I have an idea. Mo, you can go.
I was about to say you could continue Lazarus, or I actually wanted to talk about
Lazarus.
I mean, I said Lazarus. Wow,
Lazarus makes sense.
Okay,
it's fair.
Disregard my flip up. Okay, my biblical flip up.
Wait, Mo, I can't hear you over Titus flipping the pages. Can you repeat that?
I said disregard my biblical slip up, and I was going to talk about Victor's like pursuit for knowledge and everything like that. I wanted to say that I thought because he was so eager to learn like every single thing he could, and how he kept getting told that his like knowledge was in the past, that he didn't know enough, and that he was like so far behind and had to learn more. I didn't know. I kind of considered it greedy and almost like a god complex.
I have to disagree with the god complex.
Yep, there it is.
You want to say why?
We're not talking about Lazarus anymore, but I don't agree. I don't think it's a god complex. When I hear the word god complex, I mean, I think of an individual who knows exactly what he's doing. Victor had no idea what he was doing. Like, he knew scientifically what he was doing, but he didn't know morally or like what actually was going to happen. It was all experimentation. He was naive when it came to the idea of creating life. So I didn't think he was the guy like Victor. I felt like he was more of, if we're going to do symbolic figures, I thought he was more of Lily. Like, I thought he was Prometheus, like a man who achieved something God can only grant and gave it to mortals, and then now he's scared of what he created, what he helped create.
I felt like by him trying to know all, and eventually his fascination with life by trying to create it, I felt like he was almost trying to play God in that case, and think to like create something very great as God has, or like people believe that God has, and he's almost trying to put himself on the same level as in trying to do something as great.
I don't think he is. I think one of the things, because you hear a lot of times in like movies and stuff that humans have killed God, and I don't think he's like, this is a separate point, sort of, but like you hear a lot of people say that modern civilization has killed God because of us humans, no matter we take control of whatever plane of existence we are in, and I think Victor is sort of like evident of that. He doesn't do it on purpose. He does not try to become God on purpose. And I think that's why he doesn't have a God complex, is because people who have God complexes knows that they're knows that they're God, and thus act like it. He doesn't act like he's a god. He acts like he's a man. He acts like he's a child who just discovered a huge secret that now he regrets knowing.
Okay, I'm sorry. He made the monster in chapter 5, right?
No, he made the monster in chapter 4, and then got sick in chapter 5, I think. Yeah, that's how it went.
That's about right. Yes.
Because I found the like Lazarus passage, so I want to try and like compare the two. No one should see. Like,
he brings it to life at the beginning of chapter 5, and by the end of chapter 5, he's sick.
Nathan.
I'm sorry.
He doesn't. Right, I forgot he doesn't really say anything of great interest here.
Yeah, it's just like, that's another thing that I found interesting, is that they don't really spend a lot of time describing the the creation of life. Like, it sounds bad, but like, it doesn't sound like, compared to all the other sections where Shelley has spent a lot of time detailing how stuff has happened, the resurrection seems to go off like poof.
Yeah, like I mean, like when they raised Lazarus from the dead, he was like, "Lazarus, come out!" And it was like super BX, got an exclamation point in the Bible. Exclamation points are a big deal, and you know, like it's really like a powerful moment. And whenever you hear someone tell the story of Lazarus, it's like this is a big deal. You know, he raised someone from the dead, and it's kind of like a precursor to him raising himself from the dead. And then you look at him creating Frankenstein, or not Frankenstein, sorry, the monster, and like it's boring. Like I feel like that was him kind of trying to like contrast the two. Like, you know, he was raising someone from the dead of whom was like a good man, you know, a good friend. And here it's like they hate him. I think it's kind of like they're contrasting the two. I'm going to close my Bible and not have to look at all my mistakes.
I was going to say that, I don't know, the brevity of the fact that they don't talk about resurrection that long could have been taken as how maybe like Mary Shelley or in general people during that time felt about just like life during that time.
That it was brief.
Like it could just be glazed over and not really like an important kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I bring up a different point?
Yes.
I want to bring up the point of the author. Does the author being female have any affect the story in any way? Because to me, it seems like it does. To me, it seems like the characters are like more. They're not really that masculine compared to those of that time. Like I feel like if any author of this period were to write Frankenstein, he'd be more nobler. He would be more like noble and not such a nerd. Like okay. I feel like he instead of like being book smart, he might have accidentally created Frankenstein. Created the monster, but he was strong enough in order to like beat him. But because Shelley wrote it, Victor ran away. I feel like because it was.
Oh, so you're saying it's because it's a woman, she portrayed the man as being weaker than if a man wrote it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Like a man would never say that another man would be a wimp, you know, because all men are super strong, and I'm like terrifying, and I never run away from anything. And you know,
no.
Fine, whatever. Just gonna make a point.
I felt like Shelley, the way she wrote it, not only were the men, they seemed less masculine, but the women just seemed really passive for the most part, and like they just took the role of damsel in distress, and I mean that fits into the whole. Is it gothic or romantic? It fits into, yeah. I'm saying both of it, but it fits into both of the time periods due to the fact that we were like transitioning out of one and into another. But I feel like if it was written by a man per se, like female heroines that seem to be written by men for the most part are more masculine. In certain, like it depends on the author, but for overall, what we've read so far at least, the women seem more masculine. And the guys seem more passive, but it seems like both are passive here, but the women are extremely passive here.
The two females we've met are going to die, so yeah, I agree with that.
What?
Tyler, don't even act like you did not know.
I'm not being sarcastic.
That actually brings up you can go, Mo.
I was saying, does the way that people are portrayed in the novel, both women and men, do you feel like this reflects Shelley's society and the treatment of women per se, or is it just how things started to become while she was writing this? Like, was it already like this, or do you think it became this way and she critiqued it through her writing?
What?
I don't understand that question.
I made this. Yeah, I made it complicated. I'm sorry. I was saying, does the way women...
We lost you.
Okay, guess we're not answering that question. Moving on. We'll see if she comes back. If not, you want to talk about, like, I don't know, the weather?
Sure. It's pretty nice outside right now. I mean, it's going to snow soon.
You're going to say that. All right, shut up. So I want to talk about the weather, chapter 4. Or no, was it chapter 5 when it started raining? I still mixed those two up.
It was chapter 5 was when he ran outside and met what's his face. So it might have been chapter 5.
Yeah, I'll open it. Five. Come on. Okay. Yeah, pretty sure chapter 5. Okay, I think she just texted us because she just died. Yeah, it's chapter 5. All right, cool. So, you want to see what she said? She definitely said something. You said it.
Yeah, I said, Mo,
Okay.
you froze.
Yeah. All right. So, that wonderful book that you had us read over the summer, which I actually still have over there, talks about how weather always seems to play a role in, novels and other literary thingies. And I want to talk about how, it was like a dark, stormy night, and it kind of set the tone for the whole monster coming into being. And, how it kind of portrayed, the starting of Victor getting sick and, all the bad crap that happened in chapter 5 and the steep downturn the book took in chapter 5 because it was very rapid.
Yeah, it was. The weather was something like, it starts out like chapter 5 literally starts out, it was a dreary night. Like,
Yeah.
you can't hit that hammer, you can't hit that nail any harder than something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
I would like to bring up the point that Victor never names the monster. The monster just stays the monster for like now and till the end of the book. And I was just wondering.
You have 2 Mo's on your screen? Because I have 2.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I do.
making sure.
We can't hear either, but they're still there. I wanted to talk about how the monster never gets a name. So I think that leaves it up to interpretation because I did some research, and apparently some people think that the monster is supposed to be Adam, while others think he's supposed to be Satan.
Satan?
Yes.
Those are 2 contradicting views right there.
Well, I could see Satan later on in the book.
Yeah, he's gonna kill everyone. I mean, what?
Not even that, but like, I know what happens in the book, but like later on in the book, he meets his family and he starts talking to them, and he's just like, he talks to the old blind man because he doesn't see him. He's cool with him. He's like, he has a full-blown conversation. They were real cool. But as soon as his family comes back and sees that he's talking to a hideous monster, he gets thrown out. He gets kicked out. It's bad.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Oh, wait, she's back. Okay.
Back in business, guys. Sorry.
Do you want to ask the question you were in the process of asking?
Yes, I was saying, are the way women portrayed in the novel possibly reflect Shelley's society in the treatment of women during that time?
I'm sorry, you need to turn your lights on because all I can see are your teeth, and that sounds incredibly racist, but it's not, and it's entirely true. All right.
Mo, I still don't understand your question because, like, I don't think we had enough time to see the treatment of women compared to the women in Victor's society. I mean, the first woman we meet is the wife who is the mother who was poor and then got married, then died. And then we also see the cousin who doesn't really play a part besides being the light at the end of the tunnel for Victor, like something that always brings him back.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you know who she reminds me of? Lucy.
I don't know. I just saw them, like, even though they were there for a brief time, I just saw them as passive people. So that's why I wanted to know if that was a reflection of Shelley's time period where women considered passive during that time.
I mean, yes.
Yes. I mean, I get that was with a lot of stories around this time. It's just like the female characters didn't really do that much. They usually were symbols. They were pretty. They were most of them were nice, and the others were cunning, and sniving. But like most of them were like passive, not really having a major point in the story. Not saying that. Okay, I shouldn't say not having a major point, but like not being like, I can't say not main focus, but like, forget it. I forget what I was saying.
Okay, wait. Okay, do you want to go back to the whole comparing Lucy to Elizabeth thing? Because
Yeah.
I feel like that's why Bartello made us read these books in this order.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry. We had Lucy, we had Daisy, and now we have Elizabeth. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Rule
Bartello,
of three. Come on, Bartello.
you got me.
Yeah, I saw like
Slap me for his rule of three, but Bartello.
I really saw like the Elizabeth just when you described it, like conveniently all of them been blonde. Like legit, this is some freaky stuff. Like all of them have been blonde. And they've all seemingly led the main character to their demise.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, you can't get more like what is with this stereotype that these blonde women who are always positive these blonde women who are positive to the main character always seems to lead them to their death. Like, I don't know if it's a Bible reference or something. Maybe it has something to do with the golden apple, like the blonde hair, golden apples type of thing. But like, I seem to notice that a lot with books you had us read, Bartello.
Or I don't want to be the pessimist here, but I was going to say maybe with the fact that like there's so much positivity happening in that life, I guess that they're like, I don't know, it leads them when they finally start to believe the positivity, it leads them to their demise. So I guess I don't know, like this is gonna sound really bad, but being too happy will probably that sounds really bad.
But you're not wrong with like based on Tale of Two Cities, Great Gatsby, and now Frankenstein. I can tell you, yes, that is fact. Once the main characters start to get comfortable, it seems like once they start to get like happy and there might be a happy resolution for them, they just end up dying.
Just in this class. Sorry, Michael.
Oh, back to a more like actual point. Not saying that this wasn't a point, but I'm pretty sure she's not going to mark this as a point. But I want to talk about how Henry is the foil to Victor by like 110%. Like wherever Victor is like pessimistic and looks at the bad in life, Henry seems to be the only character who vocally says, "Oh, dude, chill, dude, you're being too dark."
Yeah, he definitely seems to be like
Henry is the ultimate bro.
Yeah, he seems to be like Victor's all like, oh, and then he's all like, hey. I think it's just kind of like the two they complement each other a little bit, but at the same time, Victor's kind of a douche a little bit. But I think that they kind of just help each other a little bit, and the fact that Victor isn't killing himself because he's not super depressed, because I think Henry gives him a ray of light.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. Like whenever like Henry or Elizabeth is out the story, it seems like this Victor's surrounding gets dark. Like he has a room in what he has a laboratory where there's a note where there's very few windows, and the windows are usually like covered in dust or dirt. And he doesn't really have like a lot of light in his life, and I think that's literally symbolic of him not having friends he can count on.
Yeah. Also, what are you saying about the dark, Nathan? What are you saying about the dark? Smart lights. Woo. Okay, sorry.
What is it? I think having the positive characters surrounding Victor like shows how like you see how he created the monster and he like regrets it soon after seeing what he's done, and this kind of shows how like I guess your dark secrets coming to light, and you can't really like the secrets can't survive once they're out because they're out. So I guess that kind of leads to his demise too, because he ends up having like kind of being pushed towards that direction to be revealed.
And Victor sort of starts becoming like a giant piece of crap like throughout the story, like because he doesn't tell anyone he created the monster. Like he doesn't. You remember when Henry first came up, he's like, "Dude, what's wrong?" He's like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just scared of my own skin, scared of my own shadow." But that's for no reason whatsoever. Like he doesn't tell anyone, and it's not like I would understand. Like most people wouldn't believe him, but he doesn't even tell like his best friend. Like he doesn't tell Henry who could help him or something. But no, he just stays silent. And I think that's going to be his ultimate downfall, is that he doesn't tell anyone of the thing he's done. Like he's ashamed of it.
Okay, we just hit 30 minutes.
Did we really?
We did. Yes.
Oh. Well,
So,
sorry about all this is like all over the place, but like this is what
Any
happens
last
when
points?
life literally kicks you in the balls. Like,
Do we have any last points before we end this?
I know what happens in the story, and I like it. Compared to Titus, I really like the story.
Okay.
I feel like it's a lot of detail to actually get to the point, but it's actually necessary in this story. So,
All right, we good?
Yeah, we good.
All right, Nathan,
See
end
ya.
it.
Bye.